So yeah, I want to talk a little bit about astral travel and astral projection, because I feel like I have experienced astral travel. I sort of feel like it's a bit like sort of meditation, like cross between, like, in my like mind, in my experience of astral travel, I feel like it's like a cross between meditation, lucid dreaming, maybe it's vivid imagination, could be sort of like a way to escape. I don't know, it depends. But if anybody wants to talk about astral travel, their experiences with it, because I might dive deeper into this subject another time. But in my sort of experience, I was sort of like listening to music without lyrics. It's more like sounds and vibrations. I mean, often when I'm falling asleep, I kind of go into this like meditation mode and kind of go into a lucid dream sort of thing, where it's very vivid, very feels sort of almost real. And my experience with astral travel would be sort of like a lucid dream where I feel like I'm in my own body, but sometimes my own body is in a different life form. Like it's my being and it's like my body, but it feels a bit alien. As in, whenever I've experienced astral travel, it feels more like somewhere else in the universe, and almost like on a different planet or a different part of the galaxy. I don't know exactly where I am, and sometimes I end up in different places and I feel a different kind of way. Like, for example, the first time, it was almost like a sort of feeling more connected to nature, even more than here, and kind of like feeling connected to sounds and lights, and everything like that is sort of more heightened. And I could hear like the sound of whales almost singing alongside of me in this kind of city, and everything was really vast, like big. And I was walking along the side. I was on my own at the beginning, and I was walking along this sort of city, and it was at night time and it was raining. And I ended up in this sort of, as I was walking, I felt almost like I was bouncing or floating, and I had these like boots on, which are kind of like gravity boots. I can't explain them, but it's kind of like you're bouncing, but you're floating, but you're not. But anyway, so yeah, and it felt really good. And I was climbing up this like ladder, and then I came down on the other side of this thing. So it's almost like when I turned up, or when I landed in this place, which was kind of like another world or another city or another dimension, or like a parallel universe, or a parallel me, like another me, either living in conjunction to me living here, and me existing here on Earth, but also me existing somewhere else in the universe, either now or in the future, or maybe even in the past. That's how it sort of feels. It's almost like there's more than one me, or there's another me, because there's more, like, say, I'm just talking about the first experience now, but like I ended up in I was walking and I ended up in this like place. It was like a sort of lake. There was water and there were trees, and so it was beautiful, but it was almost like the trees and the sky, everything was illuminated, like you would probably get when you see the northern lights. So it's almost like everything's kind of illuminating and glowing. And I was in this place and everything was really harmonious. And I was with a lover. And it was like everyone was dancing, or in the water, or out the water. And everything was sort of illuminating. And everything felt more real, and I felt more myself there. And another time I was sort of in this place and I was sort of floating around on massive crystals, and this particular place was like, you know, the really dark, I don't know the exact name of this particular crystal, but it was a dark one, like dark black, grey, dark blue, kind of slightly metallic. I don't know metallic, but it was like a dark crystal, like black, but then it had like a rough side and a shinier side, and there are these massive rocks, and it was like a cave, and you can kind of float on the rocks but also get like a spiritual kind of connection. And you could like lay down on the rocks, and then the rocks kind of look hard, but somehow they mold around your body, and depending on how you're feeling, it sort of helps heal and nurture. And I think you can go to these like cave-like, rock-like sort of places. I don't know exactly where they are, but it's almost like they're in the galaxy somewhere, and the different coloured rocks would benefit you. But I started off in this black rock cave-like thing, and the rocks are floating and they're massive. I mean, some are like, they're all broken off, so obviously they're different sizes, but it's like one big massive crystal. Because I also visualised the green one as well recently. And it's almost like the plants, it's almost like, you know how it would feel to be a leaf or a flower, and it just feels really amazing to exist in this being. It's almost like the petals or the veins and the leaves and the flowers come to life, and it's almost like you become the flower or the leaf. And there was this like place, I don't know what it was, but it was like a sort of place where people go to get together or something, or people or aliens, or I don't know what exactly or who, but I'm going to try and speak to one next time I go. Because it's like a sort of lucid dream in a sense, so I guess you can try and communicate. I did communicate with someone there, and they were almost telling me my purpose here, but I'll go into that next time. But yeah, so I was in this place, and people were sort of, some people, or whoever it was, aliens, people, they were like camping out in these like tent pod grid like tent things, almost a bit like a honeycomb, and they were kind of translucent. I wouldn't say completely see-through, but it would change depending on what you were doing and the mood you were in. The thing would naturally change because it's made out of like nature. You know, like how bees make honey, these things, these like tent things, it was all natural. It was made out of almost like a bee weaving, making nectar or a honeycomb, but people were sort of living in them. And there were different sizes, because obviously you could have an individual one, or one for 2 people, or a family. And they were almost like pods, and they had like a grid like flower of life, whatever it's called, kind of pattern, or a honeycomb pattern to them. But then another time I was astral traveling and I could feel myself, it was me still, but I had like a bigger head, and almost like my hair was almost like horns, and they came up and out, a bit like, you know, in Avatar. But it was pretty cool, and I was in this like grid thing. It's almost like a communication grid. I can't explain it. I need to write it all down. But has anybody else felt a very deep astral travel, like lucid dream? I was also in another place, and that was a bit like a cave thing, but almost, it wasn't a road, but it was almost like, you know how like trees, when you're like driving on a country road and the trees are like touching each other and coming together, and it's almost like a tunnel. But this is more like a cave, and I wasn't driving, I was walking along it, and the windows are not like, it's outside, but it was almost like, it was like a garden, but the rocks were almost like windows, and you can peer through them and kind of gravitate towards something that felt like you needed to gravitate towards to teach you something. Anyway, astral traveling, astral projection. Let me know who knows more about it, because I can imagine, I sort of feel in my mind it's like a lucid dream meditation, quite like type of feeling, and also it kind of feels real, and it felt really good wherever I was at. I did actually sort of speak to someone, like I floated down on this rock thing, or somebody who looked like a sort of alien. This particular person felt more like feminine energy, but it was almost like the feminine and masculine energy was different. Like everybody was, it was almost like the aura, like you could see auras. People were more like auras, and you could see the auras more clear, if that makes sense. And intuition, like you could connect very intuitively with yourself and with other people, or other like aliens, or whatever it was. I do myself believe in aliens, of course, because this universe is massive. I also had an experience that I thought, see, I'm gonna have to go into another video and talk about the moon as well, and mythical creatures, and the sea, and even like robotic kind of entities, and all of that. So yeah, let me know about astral traveling, lucid dreaming, and what kind of lucid dreams you have experienced, because I'm quite good at interpreting what dreams mean. I've always been good at that ever since I was little. I'm really good at, if somebody else tells me what their dream is, I'm very good at sort of understanding the meaning of what that could possibly mean. Yes, so yeah, dreaming, lucid dreaming and all that. I find it a little bit fascinating. What do you think?